Derby. Situated in the heart of England, this now bustling city is said to be one of the most haunted places in the country, with almost every street containing tales of phantoms and grisly shades of the past. Today, we've come to investigate one of the city's most haunted buildings, the Old Jail. The jail, located on Friargate, was a scene of crime, justice and punishment for nearly 100 years after its opening in 1756. In that time, there's been 58 executions, as well as hundreds of other deaths from murder, suicide and disease. We'll be spending the night in what's been described as one of the most haunted buildings in all of the country, to try and make contact with any prisoners still incarcerated here so many years after their mortal remains have crumbled to dust. Derby Gaol was erected in 1756 in the Nuns' Green area of the city, containing 7 cells, and was designed to hold a maximum of 29 prisoners. This limit, however, was soon exceeded, with at one time 70 people imprisoned here, with up to 6 people crammed into these tiny cells, a breeding ground for filth, disease, and of course, death. Anyone from execution victims to poor debtors spent time within the jail, many never leaving the grounds alive. In the 18th century, there were over 200 offences punishable by death in Britain, anything from murder and rape right through to setting fire to haystacks and petty theft, all of which would see the offender sentenced to hang until death. Now it's here, in this very jail, where 58 people were held prior to their executions, and I can't imagine the sort of things that must have been running through their minds as they wait here, counting down the days until their final moments upon this earth. Now it's been speculated, and I certainly agree, that maybe one reason this jail is so haunted is not just because of the despair and anguish that went on behind its walls, but because many of the prisoners feared moving on. Being an especially religious time, I'm sure many of the people held here were convinced that they would not be granted access to the kingdom of heaven, and rather than being sentenced to eternal damnation in hell, they remain here through fear of moving on, refusing to leave, halting their final judgment. Whatever deeds the individuals here committed on the outside world, crime within the jail was just as prevalent, if not more so. Men, women, children, the sane, the insane, all were held here with no segregation. It was well known for prisoners to kill each other whilst in the cells, in some cases literally to steal the coat off someone else's back. After being deemed unfit for purpose in 1825, a new jail on Vernon Gate was opened, taking over the role of the old jail, and in 1834 witnessed its first execution in the form of John Leadham, who was convicted and sentenced to death for committing bestiality with a sheep. A further 20 would meet their demise at the end of a rope here, with hundreds of others spending some of their darkest days behind its fortress-like walls. In 1919, the prison was closed to common criminals and served as a military prison for a further 10 years before much of it was demolished, the grounds now occupied by offices and residential housing after a brief stint as a Greyhound stadium in the mid-1900s. Today, both the Old Jail and Vernon Gate Jail are thought to be haunted by some of their former prisoners and jailers, with their ghosts being both seen and felt by visitors since the buildings were purchased by Richard Felix in 1997 and converted into museums. At 8 PM we arrived at the jail and were greeted by our hosts Peter and Gina, who stayed with us in the building for the remainder of the night. We began our investigation by taking a baseline EMF sweep throughout the jail, but were met with extremely high, fluctuating readings, most likely created by Wi-Fi and wiring in the walls, meaning we were unable to use these instruments for the remainder of the investigation due to the risk of recording false positives. It was during this initial sweep that James believed he caught something strange on camera.
Oh, a bit aggressive.
So, whilst we were setting up, James came through with the K2 meter to do some filming. You'd done some baseline.
I was literally just going around to do a sweep of the whole place. I got to the first room, it was having spikes, so I was like, well, I'm stuck now.
Yeah. We have come in here since, I don't know how well this is going to go. You can see we're getting quite a substantial readings here. The tri-field's been flickering, so as this one has been going. I think we ended up getting readings going over like 1.2, I think.
In the middle of a corridor.
Yeah. So it's like we can't really rely on any EMF while we're here because it's fluctuating so much. There obviously we can't take a baseline because it goes anywhere from 0.3 all the way to 1.2. So, but digressing, you came in here to do baseline. You put the K2 meter down there.
Yeah.
And you walked back with your camera. So do what you did basically.
Right. So I'm holding the camera exactly as I was. This strap isn't over that at all. My other hand was like here. Was near it, and so I've put I might have even been holding that. So I was filming Kato on the seat thing like that, and I literally went back.
And there was what looked like a shadow.
Like a big shadowy thing came from like here, which. You thought possibly it's something on the IR, but to do that on the IR, you've got to do that, and I mean even that doesn't look like it. It's too.
That's what I thought it was.
I would say that isn't as like dense as this was, and so, yeah, so literally just like that, I moved back.
In regards to that, the first thing.
Are they talking?
Yeah, I think there's something in there. I was going to say, like, if you look at that now, it's not like it's...
Yeah, it's going up to 4, 5, it wasn't 3, so it's still fluctuating. So the first thing when I saw that bit of footage, I thought it was something in front of the little IR light. Because we usually use these extra lights just to give us a bit more visibility.
Fly it out a bit more.
But you were just using the camera on its own,
Yeah.
and there's just one tiny little LED light in the front. I thought that it was something that's covered that, which is what it looked like to me. But having said that, I've been trying to replicate it in here with you.
We can't seem to replicate it.
No.
It's just.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm still not convinced that is anything. I mean, this is like healthy debate.
Well, it's the thing
But-
of like always holding that bit of scepticism about it. The one thing that I know is all I did was this.
And something.
I can't recreate that, and I can't explain what that was.
I mean, for me, it was the fact that the shadow didn't move. It didn't leave. It went on the front of the camera and then it stayed there, and it didn't disperse. It's one of those annoying things. Because I'm usually on your side with it. I'll say to someone, right, can you explain what I've just recorded? And I can't explain it, but there's still something in the back of my head that says
You're not sure.
it wasn't something. I don't know. It's like I think it's probably one of the few times we've disagreed on something that's been captured, but it's like. It's all part of it. We agree all the time on something.
See your wins in the comments. Right, onwards.
After a short walk through the jail, we decided to split up, each going into separate cells, allowing us to cover a larger area of the building.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Bench there.
Okay. Ciao.
Are you in your cells now?
Yeah.
Sophie?
What?
Are you in the cell?
Yeah.
If there's any prisoners still left in here, we've got Sophie locked up in the cell next door. We can go and look after her for a bit.
Behave.
I'm sure she wouldn't mind some company in her one.
If you don't fancy joining me in here, why don't you pop next door and see James? Make him jump. Move something. Knock something.
We've got those hanging chain things on the wall in Sophie's ones. Maybe give them a little bit of a push.
Well, why not go and visit Luke?
Yeah, Luke's not sure there's actually anything here. So now might be a good chance to show him otherwise.
With nothing being experienced, we regrouped in the condemned cell and began to set up a new experiment with the intention of making direct contact with any entities residing in the jail. So, James, this was your idea. It's an experiment I've heard about before, but I think since it was your idea to try it,
Yeah.
talk us through what we're going to be doing.
So what we're going to be doing is basically that you've probably seen it on other people's videos where I got the idea from, like an isolated or sensory deprivation spirit box session. So what we're doing is the same way you have a spirit box where it's scanning through different sweeps and you're listening for voices. Because you'd be the person asking the question and listening for an answer, you're in your head, you're going to be waiting to hear the answer to the question you've asked, and so it pollutes what the answer is going to be. By doing this, I have one of us, I'm guessing it's me, on the headphones connected to the spirit box while you two are asking questions, and I don't know what those questions are, and I'm just going to give you the responses I hear direct through the spirit box. So it basically breaks down that thing of polluting what the answer will be based on what questions we've asked, because I won't know.
There was for, quite a few years. This is the first time we've used the spirit box in probably 5 years.
Yeah.
So blow the dust off of it.
Well, part of the reason why we weren't sure, well, you weren't sure especially about using this, just like generally, was because you did a little experiment. You could work out that based on the amount of sweeps that were going around and what the actual radio frequency was at that point, you could predict when answers were going to come through. Yeah. This setup kind of eliminates that side of it as well.
It will eliminate any objective...
It avoids any kind of like building what you think is going to happen before you've had a chance. So...
Could you tell us when you first came to this jail?
How old were you? Are you stuck here?
Sentences? Or like sandwiches? Across a lot of sweeps.
Yeah. It needs a control question. Can you say the name of anybody that's in this building right now?
Like laughing, something like ah. Another one, ah. Different voice.
Do you like that people come and visit here?
Do it. Coward.
Who's the coward?
Did you steal something?
Idiot.
Are you in charge of this place?
Oh guys, it feels like someone's in here with me. Or come in.
Are you in the room with James at the moment?
Oh yeah, take the headphones out. Oh my god.
Stay in there. See if work. If there's something in there or someone in there, just work with it.
Right, I just got chills like all over. I'll put the headphones back in. Oh, this is weird. Oh.
Are you in there with James now? Let him know you're there.
Oh, someone just sat on the bed. Someone just sat next to me. Okay. I just felt it and heard it. Like I felt something
Speak to James. James is in there by himself. You can talk to him.
There's a voice there, really quiet.
None of us mean you any offence by being here. We've just come to try and make contact with you. Try and learn about you and this building.
Oh, guys, on the right hand side of me, there's someone there. My hands are gone freezing.
Could you touch James on his back if you're in there with him? Just to let him know you're there.
Tools or too old?
Put your hand.
It's gone so cold in here.
Put your hand on James's knee.
Like all on my right hand side, like it's on my hands.
Touch James on the left. Move over from the right to the left.
Impossible or imposter or something?
Do you think James is an imposter?
It's odd there's been no yes or no's.
No. They've all been really random. That could, well...
I feel sick. Michael, definite Michael. Over 2 sweeps. There's not like someone getting punched, like, ooh.
Michael? Is that your name? Are you in there? You in there with James?
Has someone hurt you, Michael?
Oh, something's touching my foot. Oh, no, guys. Oh, Harry, everything came through. Someone's grabbed my leg. I've got to get out. I just felt a whole hand go around my leg. This is freaking me out.
You done well.
Like I put like a hand like that on my leg.
Is there still someone in here, do you think?
Huh?
Do you still think there's someone in here?
That was pretty intense.
Do you want to take a step out for a bit? And
Yeah,
just
I just need a second.
After James's intense experience performing what is known as the Estes method, Sophie decided to have a go, and so myself and James stepped outside of the cell and began to ask further questions.
It's such a trippy feeling, isn't it? Did you actually like bolt it?
Yeah.
You did bolt it?
Oh yeah, I didn't tell you that bit.
Is there anyone in the jail cell with Sophie?
If you were speaking to James in there earlier, can you go in and do the same and talk to Sophie? Whatever you was doing earlier. What am I touching outside? What is this I'm touching?
Stop.
Oh, are we talking to someone that's outside of the jail cell? That was like as if...
Yeah. Are you out here with myself and James?
That'd be weird if that is the case. We're talking to someone out here through her in there.
Are you out here with us? What's your crime? Why are you in here? Up. Up where? Are you upstairs?
Bitch.
Who are you
Oh, fuck it. Are you a prisoner in there, yes or no?
This is gonna sound mental, but it's gone really cold on my bath.
You said it went cold first of all. didn't
Yeah, I said, are you in there, yes or no? Are you in there? Tell us yes or no. Are you inside the prison cell?
you? Are you making Sophie aware that you're in there? You changing the environment?
When I was in there just now, you did something where you suddenly appeared in the air, in the room around me. Can you do that now that Sophie's in there? Make your presence known to her in that room. Same way. Burn. No, don't burn her. That's weird. That's come through twice.
Yeah, it's interesting. There've been very different things than what you've had.
It seems like you're doing something to her or around her. Can you make that more intense to get her out of there?
I think I'm done. I'm really hot.
Right. Scorcher.
Someone for it.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, I've got the coat and the coat.
It's warm in here. How strange that you said you went really cold,
Yeah,
and you've gone really
warm.
hot in here. It's like 2
How was
hours.
it?
It's so disorientating.
It is.
Like the noise that is pumping through my brain, I'm getting like disturbing visual images with my eyes closed.
Really?
I can't put it into words. I've never
It's
I've
like
never
being on some
experienced.
sort of weird drug.
Obviously I'm sleep deprived, whatever. But like, as the noise is going, whatever, I'm getting like a flash of an image in my brain, and it's just like some fucking poor tortured soul.
There was a couple of really weird ones that came through. So it had to go bitch twice, and then.
But they were. I'm pretty sure they were female. I think I'd only had one or two male like sounding voices.
What did you
Most
have
of them
in yours?
female.
Mine were. I think I might have had one female one. The rest of them were male as well.
Shortly after this, we made our way over to the Vernongate jail, accompanied by Peter. But again, even here, there didn't seem to be anything particularly unusual occurring. And with our time at the jail quickly coming to a close, we collected our locked-off cameras, none of which had recorded any anomalies throughout the 5-hour recordings, and we ended our investigation. So it's been a few weeks since we investigated the Derby Gaol, and I thought we'd take the opportunity to sit down and just reflect on what happened whilst we was there. Now overall it was a very quiet place, especially the night we were there in terms of any activity, but it was also very challenging in terms of the investigation in itself. It's probably the only time, or one of the few times, we've investigated somewhere and had people stay there with us. In this case, Gina and Peter, who actually were our hosts for the evening. Both lovely people. But it did certainly throw up some issues whilst we were investigating.
Namely, some of the issues seem to be because obviously, when we turned up, they didn't seem to really understand why we were there. Like what the project we were doing was, because they asked us when we were there, "Oh, are you making a documentary?" And in our heads we were thinking, "Well, no, we're doing." What we thought every other group that turned up had done. So that's sort of there was kind of like a mismatch of what we were doing and what they thought we were doing.
There's been quite a few people going there, so I can't understand why they wouldn't think we were there for an investigation.
I guess also because it has a bar, like a operating bar inside.
Well, they did say that, didn't they? When we went in, they were like, if you want a drink,
they'll be able to
snacks,
serve drinks.
you know, we'll do it. But
like because it's got that. I'm guessing then in their heads, their interpretation of what we were going to be there doing for that night was it'd be almost like a hangout, rather than a.
I think the anticipation of us being there was that we were going to be there and scare ourselves in the dark and have a laugh. I think that was what the expectation was. But obviously, we'd gone there to do an investigation of the place as best as we could.
But then I don't think they're entirely to fault with that, because I don't think they really knew what we were doing.
No, certainly, but I say both fantastic hosts, both lovely people. I think there was a miscommunication in what we wanted to get out of visiting the place. It did feel like, to me, it felt like, and like I say, by no means in anything is it Gina and Peter.
No.
It did feel like we'd paid £500 to rent a bar for the evening.
yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. A bar with.
But so from my understanding, because what's the name of the guy?
Peter.
Richard.
Richard.
Oh, Richard.
Because of their friendship or whatever to him, that surely they should know that, you know, I don't know, I just feel like they should have.
But then maybe that is
maybe their experience with ghost groups has been completely different from what we do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a different way of
Maybe
going
they're
about
used
it.
to, like you say, 15 plus people with
Yeah.
loads of cameras and whatever.
Well, you think like with Most Haunted, which Richard was part of,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was kind of what happened. They would have a bunch of people there, plus a camera crew
And a
Yeah.
bar.
and a bar. So maybe it's literally just from what they've encountered before of groups going there, or what they've known of what Richard used to do.
Yeah.
So we can't really fault them, like I said, for not
No.
really understanding what it was that we were doing.
I think they're just in crossed wires in terms
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
organising of it. And obviously having people there that weren't in on the investigation was so difficult as well, because it's a really small place and you can hear every noise.
Yeah,
throughout
it's
the
not
whole
like we were in a
building.
large environment where we could sort of really get away
Yeah.
from each other. Like we were in the next room.
We were locked in different cells at opposite ends of the jail. We could literally have a conversation with each other. That's how easy you can
Yeah.
hear stuff in there. And like any time they'd talk to each other, we'd hear that and we'd think, we'd have to work out, is that them talking or is that
Yeah.
a voice from somewhere? They'd be like rustling crisp packets. We'd have to work out, is that a noise in here?
It made things tricky when one of the key things we're working on is picking up anomalies in sound, and when you've got something that you know is going to be creating anomalies of sound, having other people in the area, and not really being able to monitor that 24/7, it clouds what we can actually work as. Is this paranormal activity, or is this something? Is this them in the other room? What is going on?
Despite the previously mentioned challenges, our visit to the jail was certainly worthwhile, having recorded an unexplained shadow on camera and performing a new experiment, opening further avenues for future investigations.